Hi again, I am Sherry Sloan, and today I'm going to show you a little more advanced features of Designer Gravit. So let's dig right in. So as you see from your screen, the things that I'm going to show you today are the tombstone thing, which is combining two shapes together. We're going to split that tombstone. Obviously, we're going to review how to duplicate it. And then that letter P will have a see-through opening. So I'm going to show you how to do that today. We're also going to, at the top, learn how to curve our text. And then we're going to draw a blob. If you could do a quick Google search for a blob that looks something like this. Actually, I think I Google searched the word splat. So look for a splat that looks something like this, and we'll practice our curve tool and some other features of the curve pen tool. So let's get into this. So you'll see from my screen here that I still have my previous project open. If you want to see the beginner video that shows you how to draw these beginning shapes, also talks to you a bit about layers. It's just the level below this one. Go ahead and click on the link on the screen and it will bring you to this beginner video. So I'm going to add a new page. And then we're going to go ahead and curve our text. And so right now is where you want to decide, well, what sort of shape do I want my text in? Do I want it to be in a circle, or do I want it to be that arc like I showed you at the beginning? And that's what I'm going to show you today, is the arc. So if you think about it, that arc is on an oval, the line of an oval. So if I were to draw the ellipse, I can use the E for the ellipse tool. If I were to draw my ellipse, I'm sort of trying to picture the bend of that top of the words there. And so I think this one looks pretty good. All right, next step. Now we need to turn it into a path. So once you have it clicked on, you should have the blue all the way around it. You're going to come up here to where it says convert to path. I know it looks like nothing happened, but something did. And this is where the magic happens when it comes time to add the text to the path. So if I click on the text tool and bring my text onto this path, do you see how it turns red? It's going to detect this shape. I'm going to click it, and it automatically puts my default text there. I'm going to go ahead and type the words I want to text. I'll show you in a moment how to edit that, but I just want to show you something else real quick. If you want to have your text in more of a perfect circle, just as we demonstrated in the last video, if you hold your Shift key down, you can have that perfect circle. And then you can convert it to a path, just like I showed you. Add your text to it, click on it. So you can still have a perfect circle. I'll show you a few things with your text once we get it on there. So I'm going to double click on my text. Oh, well, a single click. Let me click away from it. I'm going to click on it. And I'm going to just highlight all my words because I want to change the size of them and the font. I'm going to do that first before I worry about colors and such, because I need to make it look just right. With this software, it's very difficult to have to make changes afterward to this curved text. It's just one of the things that it lacks. Curving this text, I guess, is difficult for these drawing programs. So we're just going to try and draw it without making any changes to it later. Okay, so next I just changed the font. I'm going to change the size. Okay, so if I drag the dot, so I had to click away from it, then I click on it, and I click the dot and drag it, and you'll see that I can sort of move it around. So we no longer need the oval, so we'll click on the oval, and then we'll come over to the eyeball and turn the eyeball off. And now it's gone. Let's go ahead and add in our color palette. So a review from last time to add a color palette. At this point, I have made a video. If you have not seen it, there's a link that will show you how to find and create a color palette. Okay, now I'm going to add my color palette. So this should be a review, file, import, place image, and we're going to go ahead and place this color palette. It's super big. Right now the cropping marks are on. It looks like my sub-select tool is on. I haven't talked to you about the sub-select tool, but basically the select tool, the pointer tool, lets you move things. So you'll see I am moving this. I'm going to hold my shift key down to make it smaller. It retains its dimensions when I do that. So that's what my pointer does. But my my sub-select tool, it gives me other options. In this case, I am cropping my image, so because I only really want the color palette. I click away from it, then I come back up, click back to the pointer. That's another hotkey to learn really well, is the V key for pointer. And now I can move it around as I please. So let's go ahead and change the color of our text. And I'm going to change it to this orangey color. And then I'm going to give it a drop shadow. This is review of 4. And I like that one. That looks very nice. And I'm going to change the color of the drop shadow to the color from my color palette as well. Okay, so next. Okay, let's create that tombstone shape. So we're going to do that by drawing a rectangle and drawing a perfect circle to go on top. That looks like a nice shape to me. And now, if I outline that shape, then my borders will be all messed up because it will outline my circle as well. So instead, I want to combine my shapes. And to do that, I come up to the top to this tool called the Create Compound Shape. And the drop-down menu there gives me 4 options. I'm going to show you union right now, but I'm also going to show you subtract in this video. And don't forget the little videos that they show you are really great videos to watch for this kind of stuff. So I'm going to click on union, and now it is a tombstone shape. It is all one shape. So if I were to outline it now, I would have it would outline the whole tombstone. If I didn't like it quite nice, I can still move things around a bit, holding my shift key down, and I can redo it. So I can just double click on it and make things perfect. It's okay. A little higher. Oh, there we go. My alignment helped me there. And it's still combined, all one piece. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you is, of course, we're going to remind you how to duplicate. So if you remember correctly, you're going to hold your Alt key down, or Option key if you're on a Mac, and you're going to drag your shape over. And now you have 2 of them. So the next tool I'm going to show you is the slicing tool, but first I want to just remind you we're going to color these in, so let's do that now. So we're going to click on the shape. We can edit both items at the same time. I'm going to just drag my mouse over both items, and now they're both selected, so now everything that I do will affect both items at the same time. And this is now quite easy for you, I'm sure, but we're going to change the color of the borders, and we'll make them there, nice thick borders. Actually, I think I'm going to make them one of the darker colors. We'll make them the dark gray. So the next tool I'm going to show you is the, I think they call it the knife tool. So your shortcut is the letter K, and as you see from the video, it just cuts a knife or it just cuts through your object. I'm just going to show you a straight cut through, but there you go. There's a straight cut through, and now I've just cut my object into two separate pieces. How do I move them? I go back to my select tool or press V, and now I can separate. Oops, click away. And now I can separate the two. Let's draw this letter P next. I want to get this stuff out of my way. Move, please. Okay, so let's get to the letter P. I'm sure there's lots of different ways to do this. This is just, again, introductory. So I'm going to use the pen tool, and I'm just going to just sort of wing it a little bit. My goal is to show you how to make that opening anyway. I'm not really showing you how to draw a letter P, so I'm not really trying too hard. Well, this is a good review for coming up in a moment. So I'm done with this tool, but I want to make this bend. So if I get my direct select, sub-select, I can now affect this one dot and then come over here. So right now it's a straight dot or an angular dot vector. I'm going to make it into a curved vector, a mirrored curved vector. And then the handles let you sort of manipulate the vector. So now you made your basic P shape. I'm just going to color it in so you can sort of see how this is all going to work. So I'm just going to color it in with, let's do a gray one, and then give it a nice border of yellow. Okay, sweet. All right, so we need to make that opening. So let's go ahead and draw that next. I'm going to move this down a little bit. All right, I want to zoom in, and that is going to be my Z key. And now I'm going to draw the shape that I want to cut out. I'm going to use my pen tool again. I like the pen tool, not everybody does. For me, it just works. So again, and I could make this curve now. Okay, back to the select tool. So now I have my two shapes, and just to show you, well, let me just color in this one. Sometimes it's hard to select things when they're layered on top of each other. So if ever you have that problem, don't forget you can always click over here to select it. So let's say I wanted to change the color of this piece here. I'm just going to change it to just black for now, just so you can see. So my goal is to cut it out so that way if I were to put this, say, on a pink t-shirt, that the pink would show through. So let's go ahead and make that happen. So I'm going to drag over both items, drag my mouse over both items. I know I have them both selected because there's two things over here selected. So now that I have both items selected, the cutout and the letter P, I'm going to come back up here and go to subtract. And now the inside of the letter P is cut out. Now just to test that, let's drag that on top of the tombstone and see if we can see the tombstone through it. And we can. So that means we were successful. Okay, so I had asked you to download an image of a splat. That's what I looked up. So let's put that in here and I'll show you how we trace over images. So I'm going to, again, just like the other images, File, Import, Place Image. I'll try to put a link to this. Not really sure where I got it from. Looks like I did the blue one. So I'll grab that. I'm just going to make it, well actually, let me, I'm going to cut this up because all I need is the blue. So I'm going to double click on it. That brings up my cropping. I'm going to drag my cropping. Don't forget to press the V key so you can move this around without it like popping out. It'll really annoy you. Letter V. Now I can move it around. Now I'm going to make it bigger so I can work with it a little bit easier. And now what I need to do is I'm about to trace this. So I'm going to do two things. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make it where it's a little more see-through. That's opacity. So there's your opacity. I just made it 46%. And that's so I can see my own lines as I draw. Next, I'm going to lock it down. So that way it won't move as I'm trying to trace it. I'm going to zoom in again. And now I'm going to use the pen tool to trace around this. I'll sort of talk you through it as I trace and sort of tell you the decisions that I'm making. But this is just something you just have to figure out and just play with the tool. So, and do remember that as you're drawing, you can always go back and change things. So I'm just clicked and drag. I want to change the direction. I'm going to click and drag. And I know that I make it look easy. I've been doing this a long time. But I actually haven't been doing this kind of drawing for a long time. Because, you know, this is kind of hard to draw like this. But before knowing how to draw like this, I couldn't draw at all. So I was kind of stoked that when someone gave me a computer, that I could use that computer to turn into someone who could draw when I could never draw before. Another thing to keep in mind when you're tracing over something, no one's ever going to see your original. Just clicking on the dot again. Remember, we can go back and change all of this later. I can make them all pointy and still go back and change them all later. It's really not a big deal. Just makes a little more work for you. I want to use my Z key to zoom in again. If I want to pick up with that again, I just pick up my pen. Oh, it automatically started drawing. But if it didn't start drawing, you would just pick up your last dot by clicking on it. Then you could continue drawing again. Your goal is to, you want to make sure that you continue, like if you have to leave your drawing, that you come back by clicking on the dot. Let me show you what I mean. So let's pretend that, you know, I'm done drawing for the day, and here's my drawing. Maybe I've done something else. I'll just throw a different shape on there for the heck of it. And then I decide, you know what, I'm not done drawing this yet. I want to go back and draw. Well, if I want to do that, I need to double click on my drawing till I get that last dot. And then, if I click on that last dot, grab my pen tool, and now I can continue drawing. So again, you have to grab the pen tool again to continue your drawing. So I'm just going to go through around the rest of this blob, and then I'll come right back to you. I kind of want to make sure I did a good job, so I'm going to change my sub-select back to my pointer, and I'm going to just change the color of this to something else, just something darker. And then I'm going to change the opacity, and that's so that I can see my original beneath it. Maybe not quite that dark. There we go. I think that'll look a little better. Okay, so now I can see my drawing beneath it. So now what I want to do is I want to go back and I want to refine some of these. Like this one here looks kind of terrible. This here looks kind of terrible. And the reason they look terrible is because they're angular. So I'm going to use my sub-select, and if you learn that one, that's the letter D. I never remember that one. And you'll notice that there's a square here. If I click on that square, it's the squared kind of joint. So I can click on this mirrored one, and now it changed into a curved one, but that was kind of like crazy. So Control Z, Control Z. So how about this disconnected one? All right, with that one I can manipulate just one handle of it. Okay, that was kind of cool. How does it look? Well, it still looks kind of angular, so let's double click on it. And so you just want to go through and just kind of mess with these and see if you can sort of, sometimes it's easy and sometimes it's not. But yeah, I think sometimes drawing with the computer can be really difficult. But once you get the hang of it, it really does start to become like second nature. You really do start to just learn how to use it. Again, I think that changed direction there. I'm just going to mirror that one. And it makes it more blobby if you're mirroring it. It's less angular. So like this one here, that one definitely has to be changed. So I grab the mirror one again. Here, I want to mirror that one. And then you just keep working on them until you just sort of figure out, okay, and you can just keep moving around until you see what works. So you see I've been moving these around the whole time. Just move anything that you want. If it's not quite right, just go ahead and move it. Okay, now let's see if it looks good. I'm going to change my opacity back up. Looks pretty good. I don't like this one. I think I need to add an extra dot in here. So I think I can do it here. Yep, I just added an extra dot by clicking on it. There. All right, I now have my splat shape. Of course, before I print, I'm going to need to make my image disappear. So I'm going to click on my eyeball. And if I zoom out, Alt, I now have that last shape. I'm going to color in with a color from my color palette though. So I'm going to click on it again, letter V, click on it, my opacity all the way up, and my fill is going to be the yellow. And that is it. We have now combined two shapes. We have sliced the shapes using the knife. We have taken away an inside using the subtract tool. And we have made a splat by playing with the pen tool and the different kinds of vectors. So now it's time to export, and to export it is File, Export. If you want a PNG image, that will give you the transparent background. That's what I'm going to choose. A JPEG image will give you the white background. So let me click on the PNG image. And that's it. All right, good luck. And you know, digital drawing isn't easy, but for those of us who can't draw in real life, it sure is fun. All right, see you. Bye now.